Jumping off my minor gripe with puzzles and the world building that they inspire though, one thing that these games do great that makes up for it is a lack of meaningless busywork. You see, one of my biggest pet peeves in especially semi-open or open worlds like this is that certain side quests or objectives often just feel pointless. Like, why do I have to kill the same mob over and over again or capture yet another samey looking tower using the same routes or objectives as always? Things like this, and especially say Ubisoft titles, to me are nothing more than padding, and I really dislike it. Luckily though, the closest thing God of War and Ragnarok has to this are the collectibles, which sure can get tedious at times, but usually factor into upgrades and gear as well. The key point I'm talking about here though is the side content. In God of War and Ragnarok, side quests and missions aren't ever throwaway trash. Every single mission you go on, every bit of content you do has interesting storytelling, new combat skills to use, or even big boss battles that rival some of the main stuff. In my opinion, for the most part, it's a perfect example of how side content should be in games. Like, take a look at this for example, a random quest I picked that I did in Alfheim, Land of the Elves. After going through hordes of enemies and exploring expansive underground cave networks that you come across, you find a giant bioluminescent jellyfish pulsing in the ground. Lore about the creature fills your journal and is told to you through audio as you discover more and more about its meaning in Norse mythology, until you finally get to the end where you unshackle it from its chains below. In the culmination of this quest, after releasing the beast, he flies into the sky in a beautiful pattern, and when releasing his friend too, you are met with this beautiful moment. Spectacles like this are usually reserved for main missions in other games, but in God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, everything is given a main mission feel and attention to detail. And it gives you this really great sense of comfort knowing that no matter which objectives you choose to do, you can just pick what sounds fun and know that you will be getting the same level of writing, world building, puzzle solving, and gameplay elements that you get from all the main missions too. In my opinion, this is how all content in games should be. I truly don't understand why so many games, especially open worlds nowadays, try to just jam so much random crap in. I mean, once again, I get it. It's to pad game time so consumers can feel like they're getting their money's worth. But as consumers, shouldn't we be smarter than that? Why would we pay $70 to play 100 hours of bullshit when we could pay the same amount for 20 hours of true art and passion? I get it, you worked hard for that money, but why just throw it away on endless hours that mean nothing? No matter how much you are making or aren't making, remember, time is more valuable. Your life as a human is more valuable than just throwing $70 and playing 100 hours you didn't truly love. And the God of War games prove this point, I think, perfectly. And if anything, replaying and rediscovering truly great but shorter games like this is often more fun than just playing 100 hours of something that was mediocre. The new God of War series understands this in all the right ways. Areas are semi-open world but not so big they're overbearing, quests all have funny or introspective moments that make them worthwhile, and overall, the game just respects your time. Now, that's not to say it's all perfect. For example, in the Kratos side quests later in Ragnarok specifically, I definitely felt myself starting to grow bored of all the random collectibles and things you have to find, but overall, for the most part, if you just focus on anything that pops into your journal, you will have a good time playing this series, and it will leave you with memorable moments forever. And for a game to be the type that you need to play before you die, it's of the utmost importance that it doesn't waste the precious time we do have. So it's good to see how much God of War excels here. I've always had a keen focus on verisimilitude in games. For those of you who don't know, verisimilitude is essentially how real or genuine something appears to be in the context of its universe. So for example, in Skyrim, the magic doesn't have much verisimilitude because there are spells that can turn objects into gold. If that really were possible in the game world, the entire economy would crash and the value of gold would quickly fall near to zero, and yet when you play, you can buy houses for fairly cheap with gold. So in other words, verisimilitude means having a game world and mechanics that make sense within the context of one another. It's a weird and maybe nitpicky thing to care about in games. After all, they are just games, but for me, it's such an important aspect, and sadly, one that God of War flounders on as well, especially in one key area. Let me explain. Kratos, as we know, is the god of war. A warrior so powerful and unstoppable that he literally takes down entire pantheons of gods from myth. He can jump miles into the sky, break literal rocks with his fist, and backs down to no foe. In the very beginning of God of War 2018, we get to see this right off the bat, when Baldur comes to face you, and we get this moment. Clearly, from the very start of this new version of God of War, we see just how commanding Kratos really is. And yet, not even a minute later, his god-killing ass is sliding down a chain like Mary Poppins. I cannot overstate the utter immersion-shattering effect these small moments had for me playing throughout the story. I mean, Kratos literally goes from moving mountains to struggling to hop up a small ledge. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, one that happens fairly frequently all throughout the games. You'll come across a small puzzle area after a big fight, full of, for example, geysers you need to turn on or buttons and switches you need to hit for certain orders to progress. The actual puzzles themselves are fairly well designed and easy enough, and honestly, I actually enjoy doing them for the most part. But they led to absolutely ridiculous situations like this, where I have to run back and forth hitting buttons or turning levers, figuring out how to move an elevator up and down just to get up a ledge that Kratos could literally hop up to with one leg blindfolded, not even trying. Like seriously, I had to stop and laugh to myself at the gall the developers have here trying to convince us that Kratos, the literal god of war, who's killed monsters the size of buildings, can't reach his hand up and pull himself over a ledge. It's insulting in a way, but I understand it. Obviously, things like this are just gameplay elements meant to slow down the pacing for the player, but I really think more thought should have gone into these areas. Even things like slowly scaling walls or slowly moving down chains, especially in the first title, becomes cumbersome and confusing. Or what about doors where you have to solve some mundane puzzle to open them when Kratos could literally just smash right through them immediately? You'll see him do it in a cutscene in 1 second, and then you'll spend 10 minutes flicking little balls up in the air just to get a door to open the next. It takes away from what this character is and was supposed to be. And I would have preferred the developers came up with more puzzles that show how grand Kratos and his powers are, just like, say, the combat or the cutscenes do. In a way, I understand it's somewhat nitpicky, and I get why it's in the game, but I really do think a keener focus on verisimilitude in this new God of War series would have taken it to the next level. It would have let players get much more immersed instead of constantly reminding us that yes, you're playing a video game with puzzles, because that's just what video games do.